Welcome to the Middle School Cafe podcast, where we're serving up fresh strategies and solutions for ELA teachers just like you. Join us as we explore proven methods to bridge the achievement gap and help every student reach their full potential. Whether you're a veteran teacher or just starting out, grab a cup of coffee and a notepad and let's get started. Here's your host, Carolyn Wall.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Middle School Cafe podcast, where we talk about reading, routines, and real talk for the middle school classroom. I know we have a lot of new listeners, so I want to remind you that new episodes come out every first and third Tuesday of the month with an occasional bonus episode. If you're a new listener, welcome. I hope you all survived Halloween week. Luckily, the holiday landed on a Friday this year, so hopefully you got a little weekend buffer to recover from the sugar rush. Hopefully your students came back this week a little calmer and maybe even a little more focused as we move into November. One can wish, right? If you've been following along the past month or so, you know we've been focusing on helping students see themselves as readers. We've talked about creating entry points, about rebuilding confidence, and about using short stories and structured conversations to get even our most hesitant students reading. Today, we're shifting gears a bit, but only slightly. Today, we're talking about nonfiction. Now, if that word immediately makes you think of dusty textbooks, long outdated passages, or the sighs that come from students when they see a multi-page article, hang in there. I hope to change the way you think about nonfiction by the end of this episode. Nonfiction doesn't have to be dry or something students just get through. In fact, it can be one of the best ways to reach reluctant readers. When we bring in high-interest nonfiction, we give students a chance to connect with their reading to the real world, to learn about people, places, and issues that matter to them right now. That connection can become the spark that helps them see reading as meaningful and worth their time. We can't ignore how important confidence is when it comes to reluctant readers. Many of them have spent years feeling like reading isn't their thing, but nonfiction can change that narrative because it allows for success in smaller doses. Short passages, magazine articles, or high-interest essays can provide achievable wins. When students finish reading something, understand it, and have a thought about it, they feel capable. That confidence is contagious. Let's start with a simple truth. Many teachers just don't have the same comfort level with nonfiction that they do with fiction. We can all name plenty of novels for middle schoolers or get lost in the language of a beautifully written story. But when it comes to finding engaging nonfiction titles, the list often gets shorter. In fact, the National Council of Teachers of English points out that nonfiction is underrepresented in both professional development and in school and classroom libraries. Because of that, many teachers rely on easily accessible online articles or outdated selections from textbooks, not because those are the most engaging or diverse options, but because that's what's available. When I talk with other middle school teachers, one thing I hear is, my students think nonfiction is boring. And honestly, it's a fair concern. Nonfiction can feel dry if it's presented as a collection of facts rather than as a story. If all students ever see are articles filled with dates, statistics, or academic language, it's easy to understand why they tune out. But the problem isn't the genre, it's how we sometimes frame it. Instead of asking, how do I get students to read nonfiction? Maybe the better question is, what kinds of nonfiction would they want to read? When we start thinking that way, we stop focusing on making students read and start focusing on helping them want to read. Because once we find the right topics, the ones that connect to students' interests and experiences, something changes. Their curiosity kicks in, and curiosity is one of the best motivators we have. It's what turns "I have to read this" into "I want more." So, how exactly can nonfiction help us hook those reluctant readers? For starters, nonfiction makes real-world connections. Middle schoolers are naturally curious about real people, real events, and true stories. Whether it's an athlete's journey, a scientific mystery, or a historical injustice, nonfiction helps answer that question every student asks at some point. Why should I care? Another reason nonfiction works so well is that it offers flexible entry points. Fiction often asks for a big commitment. You start at chapter 1 and read all the way to the end, but nonfiction lets students dip in and out. They can read a sidebar, study a photograph, or focus on just one section that grabs their attention. And bonus, many nonfiction books in our classroom or school libraries are short. They're the kind of books a student can finish in a day or two, which makes them feel manageable and rewarding. Plus, a lot of them include photos, maps, or illustrations that help students visualize what they're reading. That visual support often makes the book look easier to read, which can be exactly what a reluctant reader needs to pick it up in the first place. When students see nonfiction as accessible, we can help them find books that match their interests. Point them toward biographies of athletes who've overcome obstacles, or books that explore the behind the scenes world of movies, music, or gaming. In history units, suggest titles that highlight lesser known figures or tell real stories from unique perspectives. These kinds of books show students that nonfiction isn't limited to textbooks or academic articles. It's about real people, real stories, and real experiences. And finally, nonfiction builds background knowledge, which strengthens comprehension across every subject. When students read about ecosystems, civil rights, or space exploration, they're building the mental frameworks that help them understand new information. That background knowledge also deepens their understanding of fiction. For instance, a student who's read a nonfiction piece about modern refugee experiences will bring a deeper understanding to books like Refugee or When Stars Are Scattered. Nonfiction and fiction don't compete with each other, they complement one another. Together, they help students grow as readers and thinkers. Beyond engagement and comprehension, nonfiction also plays an important role in helping students see themselves in what they read. For many students, especially those who haven't often seen themselves represented in literature, nonfiction offers a mirror. It allows them to see real people, scientists, activists, artists, athletes who look like them, speak like them, or come from similar backgrounds. The National Council of Teachers of English points out that contemporary nonfiction can empower students to engage with both current and historical injustices. Think about texts that explore climate change, civil rights, or immigration stories. These aren't just lessons, they're invitations for students to think critically about the world they live in. So, where do we start as teachers? It begins with a mindset shift. We have to stop viewing nonfiction as extra or supplemental and start seeing it as an essential part of helping students grow into lifelong readers. That also means we can't treat nonfiction as just a single unit during the year. It needs to be woven throughout our reading instruction, something that lives alongside fiction, not apart from it. One simple way to make that happen is by including nonfiction titles in our regular book talks. When we share books with students, make sure some of those titles are nonfiction. Introduce them to a fast paced biography, a science narrative that reads like a mystery, or even a sports book or cookbook that connects to their interests. Just a quick, engaging book talk can help students see that nonfiction can be just as exciting and meaningful as a novel, and that there really is something for everyone. Integrating nonfiction doesn't mean reworking everything you already do. It's about finding small, intentional ways to connect it to what's already happening in your classroom. You can use a short article to build context before a novel, add a nonfiction text as an extension to a unit you already teach, or offer students a choice between fiction and nonfiction on the same theme. We can start by being more intentional about the kinds of nonfiction we share. Even if you're teaching within a set curriculum or required textbook, there's still room to make it feel fresh and relevant. Many of those adopted programs include articles that are 10 years old or older. One simple way to bring new life to those lessons is to pair the required reading with a more current article on the same topic. This not only updates the information, but also gives students a chance to compare how ideas, perspectives, and even data have changed over time. It helps them see that nonfiction isn't static. It evolves right alongside the world they're studying. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few simple ways to start weaving nonfiction into your class. The first one is to make sure nonfiction has a place in your independent reading time. Encourage students to mix nonfiction in right alongside their fiction choices. Memoirs, biographies, or high-interest informational books can all count. When nonfiction sits on the same shelf as fiction, students see it as part of what readers read, not something separate or required. You can also try pairing nonfiction with the fiction you're already teaching. A short article or passage on survival stories, for example, can help students better understand the challenges faced in Hatchet or The Call of the Wild. Pairing text this way helps students see how information and storytelling connect, and it gives them a richer understanding of both. Nonfiction is also a great tool for skill practice. Text features, identifying the main idea, summarizing, all of those reading skills we teach can be applied using real world content. You can even collaborate with your social studies or science teachers to find short articles that connect to what students are already learning in those subjects. When students see that reading skills apply across their classes, the work feels more meaningful. They realize that reading isn't just for ELA, it's a tool they'll use everywhere. And finally, invite students to bring in nonfiction of their own. Maybe it's a news article, a sports recap, or a short piece about an issue they care about. When students share what they're reading, it validates their choices and shows that reading comes in many forms. It's not about the label of fiction or nonfiction, it's about the act of reading, thinking, and engaging with text. If we want students to see themselves as readers, we need to give them multiple ways in. Nonfiction can be that entry point. It's timely, it's relatable, and it helps students make sense of the world they live in. So, as you plan your next lesson, look for those moments where nonfiction fits naturally. A single article, a quick book talk, or a new title on your shelf might be all it takes to spark a student's curiosity. It's a simple shift that opens doors, connecting learning to real life, giving students confidence, and reminding students that their interests and voices belong in the classroom too. If you'd like some ideas or ready to use resources to help you bring more nonfiction into your classroom, be sure to check out the show notes for today's episode. I've linked a few of my favorite tools and activities you can start using right away, from ways to spark student curiosity to engaging nonfiction lessons that connect reading to the real world. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. If today's episode sparked an idea, share it with a colleague or use it to inspire your next reading lesson. I'd also appreciate it if you'd take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps other teachers find the show and keeps these conversations growing. Until next time, keep doing what you do best, helping students see themselves as capable, curious, and growing readers. Thanks for joining me today. As a reminder, a new episode drops every first and third Tuesday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Be sure to visit middleschoolcafe.com to find links to everything mentioned in today's show. Until next time.